Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pitstop Fracas, where we are here to review the Spanish Grand Prix, which provided us with a race-long battle between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, which resulted in Lewis himself prevailing and taking his 98th race win. Today, I'm joined by Kunle, Richard, Mahad, and Kwame. Gentlemen, I trust you are all well, as we deep dive into that race victory from Lewis Hamilton, as well as touching on his 100th pole position, as well as, any other key moments from the race today. We thought it wasn't going to be the most exciting race, but we saw it panned out to be quite an exciting one, to be honest with you. And that race-long battle between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton was quite enthralling, to be honest, especially when you look at strategies, racing hard, lap times, you had drivers getting in the way. But yeah, we'll get stuck into that. Before we get into the race itself, let's get all the admin out of the way. So if you haven't already, please make sure you follow us on Twitter at Pitstop Fracas. We had the cast tweeting the whole weekend, providing content, highlights. There was a few dodgy predictions. I'll hold my hand up on that when it comes to Bottas. Yeah, I'm probably never going to predict him to win a race again, in all honesty. But nevertheless, there was all-round good content coming from the account itself. Speaking of content, join us live. Join us on the Discord. We're going to be covering most of the races this year. The live today, in all honesty, was incredible. We had Kunle diving in and out of the live. He was jumping into the chat, beefing the guys in the chat. Then he comes back into the live to keep his Bottas agenda going. And then he went back onto the chat when he saw that a few guys were not agreeing with him. We also had Nam himself. He was jumping in on the live and he was saying, "Yeah, guys, it's a great race. I'm going to head off now." And then when he realised Bottas was holding up Lewis, he decided to join from his car and start slating him. It was a crazy live. So yeah, make sure if you haven't already, sign up. The link's going to be in the bio. If you have any difficulty signing up, DM the account on Twitter or any of us, and we'll help get your access sorted. Great. All the admin stuff out of the way. Let's just quickly turn our attention to qualifying. No surprise, really. Lewis stuck it on pole, number 100. I think his first ones, right from his first one in Canada 2007 to... yeah, here we are, 14 years later, and he's got 100 pole positions. Mahad, let me come to you first on this. Just how good a qualifier, or how good Mr. Saturday is Lewis Hamilton?
This is what he does. 100 is outrageous. A century. Certain people, they have nowhere near that. I don't think it's a record that's going to be defeated. This is something with Lewis that we need to just really, really own in on. We need to speak about it honestly, because there's so many different aspects that he's the number one guy at in terms of racing. Some people are just like, "Oh, I'm a race day guy. I'm a qualifying guy. I'm an overtaking guy," and so on and so on. This guy ticks all the boxes. And yesterday he just showed what he was about, sticking it on pole for number 100. Absolutely lightning lap that he was doing. It was funny because Max said, "How is he doing this in sector 3 in terms of speed?" And he just keeps pushing. He's inevitable. Even if we think that, "Oh yeah, somebody else is gonna get pole," or so on and so on, he just keeps on every single time, just surprising us again and again. We shouldn't even be surprised. It's 100 times. We've seen this 100 times. Think about it. Since 2007, 14 years of poles. So credit to him. The record probably never ever going to get beaten, and many more to come for Lewis.
Yeah, he just has this ability to extract the best out of the car at that single moment in time. Typically Q3, what it's been for him, and just put it on pole. There's so many memorable moments from pole positions that he's done. I remember there was one back in Italy. I think it was 2017. There was Singapore 2018 when that Merc was not quick around Singapore at all, and then he just pulls it out. A clutch moment from Hamilton. He's just got this this ability to maximize the car and, you know, come up trumps in qualifying. You know, I'm literally running out of superlatives for this guy. And yeah, that 100 mark will probably never be beaten. Kunle, let's come to you as well. Just how good is Hamilton when it comes to qualifying?
I mean, the man's great. We already know that. Great. It's just Lewis is. I think there are not many drivers that you can see them having a bad weekend and pull it out in Q3. You know, there's not many drivers that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
P1, P2, P3 might be trash, but you know, it's like one of those. It's like one of those inevitables. It's like Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter. Like, you know, Rafael Nadal in the fifth set at Roland Garros. You know, reliable. Something is it's reliable. It's like you flip a coin, you're always gonna get heads because it's heads on both sides. That's what Lewis is when it comes to Saturday. Like it's amazing, and it's quite ridiculous that people still try to question that man's ability to say, oh, he's got a fast car. He's got, considering that he was doing this even when he wasn't in a Mercedes, when he was in probably the third best car, he will still find a way to put that car on pole. He will still find a way to do it on a Saturday when everyone else is going wide, and he'll still find 1 second on everyone else. I remember seeing this Singapore. There was one wet weather qualifying as well where everyone was tripping, and Lewis just went there like purple, and it's like, you know, that's just Lewis, man. We don't quite, like, I think we've gotten to that point with Lewis where you don't question what he's going to do on a Saturday. You just ask the other guys, are you going to rise up to Lewis's standard? That's the question. Is set that standard, like, you know, this is me. This is my yard. Me go and come out here and run the tin. Are you going to come with me? That's the question. Like, and then not many people do that now. And I think that's just it to that.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And, you know, even I remember, you know, even Toto's come on the radio a couple of times, and he himself has said, Lewis, that was just an incredible lap. I literally don't know where you managed to pull it out from, which just pays testament to the guy. When it comes to that single lap pace, he is literally the best that I've ever seen. And I'm not even being biased. I don't think I've ever seen a guy that could literally deliver on one lap the way Lewis Hamilton manages to. So yeah, look, he put it on pole. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was about 3 to 4 hundredths of a second from Verstappen. So it was quite close.
It was close.
It was very close, yeah. And when it came to the race itself, you know, Verstappen got a very good start. And he managed to, you know, have him in the first corner. It was what many can argue aggressive. Some can argue very good racecraft, but regardless, you know, Max Verstappen managed to muscle his way into the lead. And he was in the lead for about 6 to 7 laps until Yuki Tsunoda's car packed in on him. And before we get into Max and Lewis round 4, I just want to quickly touch on Yuki's weekend. And I want to come to you on this, Richard. How did you assess Yuki's race weekend? I mean, he qualified. Where did he qualify? He qualified 16th. Not the best qualifying, and then I think lap 7 or 8, the car just packs in on him. How did you assess his race weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty poor weekend all round for Yuki. Qualifying wasn't too great, and then rather than cracking on with it and saying, you know, I'll try and get into the points for Sunday, he then goes on like some Kanye style on Sway Radio rants against, you know, his own team 4 races in, and it's like, okay, it's like, obviously it's not new drivers going against the team, you know, blasting them in interviews, but when you're only 4 races in, you haven't really got the equity to do that and get away with it. Someone like Alonso, even though the last time he won World Championship, I think teletext still existed. You know, he still got the equity to kind of do that really and get away with it. Yuki hasn't. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just a bit odd. I mean, people found it cute at first when he was, swearing and moving mad, and whatever. But now
when you're swearing and you're getting points, it's cute. You're like, oh yeah, it's got the tenacity, but
yeah. You got a little QP9. People were gassing that up. He was gassing it up. I was like, okay, fair play. But now it's like it's even people even ask questions whether he's been promoted too fast, whether he should have done another year in F2.
Richard, sorry. When you say people were gassing him up, do you want to mention names? Do you want to call names? Is there certain names you want to call?
I mean, I'll let the streets call them out. You get me? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll let the streets call. The streets know. I keep my ear to the streets. The streets tell me what's good. Certain man, with the initials MH. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we know who it is. We know who it is.
I hold my hands up.
I'm saying this. Oh, okay.
I am the CFO of Yuki Hive.
Terrible CEO. Why not CEO?
I'm both.
Okay.
I'm the founder also.
Okay.
Bad weekend. I agree with what you said, Richard. First of all, this man don't have the equity to be behaving how he's behaving. It was a Kanye style rant that he went on yesterday at qualifying. At his team saying, "I'm quicker than the car." You can't be saying these things. Even if you was a couple years in, I don't think these are the things that you need to be doing. Slating your engineers, slating the people. The hundreds of people that work on your team, that work hard to get your car ready for the weekend. These are the people that should be in your corner. He's a young man. It's a learning curve. I think he just turned 21 or he's 20 still. This is stuff that he needs to learn. It could be the case where he could have been promoted too quickly. But from looking at the history of things, he does tend to have slow starts. Even in F2, he had a slow start and he started to learn things and start to pick things up. And he did apologize for that. I think he's a very passionate, young man that's really just wearing his heart on his sleeve, especially with the radios and so on. But there's a level where you need to be professional. You're a Formula 1 driver now. You're at the top. You're the upper echelons of motorsport. You need to be behaving in a manner that's conducive to a good work environment for your team, and he's not doing that. AlphaTauri on a whole had a bad weekend, but Yuki, you need to do better than that. But I'm still holding stock. If you man want to bail out, I'll take your stock. It's fine, and I'll be the last man standing. I'm holding down. Richard, you had stock, so don't on the low.
Okay, I had stock.
Hold on.
Still small. But it wasn't. I mean, you had like that Bitcoin stock. You get me. You had your stock was saying your stock was like 40K, got up to 50K. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a bit mad still, but he's a young guy. Yeah, it's one of them, innit? He's a young guy. He's immature. Maybe that Bahrain performance and the attention he got off it gassed him up a bit. Like, oh, okay, people are liking me be passionate. People are liking when I start swearing and da. I thought maybe it gassed him up where he thought, oh, if I blast AlphaTauri now, maybe I'll be able to get away with it. And then next thing he's got a whole load of backlash. So, and then, he's doing backtrack over on Insta and Twitter and whatever. But as I said, he just needs to settle down a lot more because people like, Dr. Helmut Marko, Mahad Horner, Franz Tost, people like that aren't going to accept that, really. So, yeah, it's a learning curve. It's only 4 races in, but,
Yeah, to be fair, he's got to take it a bit easier. You just got to tone it down a bit. I personally think he went over the top, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with me on that. But there's still one guy that's getting away with it. I mean, we had Alpha. I think we named the team Alpha Kwame, didn't we? Kwame, what's happening with Yuki here, bro? You thought you could get away with it, Kwame, but quickly, what's happening over at AlphaTauri at the moment, man?
Listen, my guy Yuki, he's a very proud and passionate guy. Like Mahad said, he's a very emotional guy, and that happens. Listen, he put his harness leave, and he was annoyed with how it went out in qualifying. Shouldn't have done that. No, he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have been as emotional, passionate as he was. But listen, the electronics in the engine did work out for him in the race, which we'll get on to later. And hopefully he learns from this and he learns from mistakes. hopefully now he knows how to control himself under the radio in this pressureless time, and not to just blast the team, as the team has put a lot of time and pressure under him. So I'm not happy with my boy Yuki, but he will come good at the end of the season.
Yep, let's see obviously how that pans out. Right, guys, I've been itching to get into it ever since we started the pod. Let's talk about Lewis versus Max, round 4. The start, I touched on it earlier. Let's make no lies about it. Verstappen hooked it up at the start. I don't know whether a bit more rubber was laid down on that side of the track, but he was side by side with Hamilton as they entered the first corner, and obviously that's the advantage. He managed to muscle his way through and sort of control the first part of the race. Hamilton was getting close to him, but how did you sort of assess that first stint, Mahad, from Max and Lewis in the race?
I think Max had a really, really good start in comparison to Hamilton. It just allowed him to just get off. This is quite strange because if we look at the history, especially in the last couple of years, Max is not good at starts. He tends to stall it, especially I think both of the Red Bulls tend to do that. And today he just hooked it all up, and Hamilton was a bit slow off the line, same with Bottas. And once he had that clear air, he just jetted off. He was away. Credit to Lewis again. It's quite eerily similar to Imola, where yes, you've been overtaken, but you kept within striking distance of Max, and you didn't let Max get away. With Spain, it tends to be if you're first in that first lap, you tend to win the race. But he wasn't able to just push away and get away from Lewis, and Lewis was the man that was the quicker man the whole weekend. This guy's laps were incredible this weekend. Anytime there was a type of gap, especially after the pits and all the strategies, he was there on his neck, cutting down 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. So, you know what? Max did his best, but his best is not better than Lewis. That's just how it is. But I think Max will take some credit and say, yeah, okay, I overtook him, but I just didn't do what I need to do. Whether it was a strategy problem, whether it was if it was Max's issues as well in terms of deciding when to pit and when not to pit. Mercedes hooked it up strategy-wise, and Lewis hooked it up. Lewis giving that feedback that's required in terms of the life of his tyres and giving that to the pit crew, that dictates strategy. And that's the stuff that kind of wins you races. So that type of feedback that Lewis was giving them allowed them to win the race today. So, yeah, it's a tight one. But what I envision is Lewis and his experience is going to overcome any type of talent that Max is going to put on the table, and whatever speed that Red Bull's putting on. It's going to be a challenge, but Lewis will end up on top.
So my take on it was, especially in that first stint, I'm going to ignore the safety cars. Obviously, the safety car with Gasly when I described this, but it's happened a couple of times this year. Like Lewis is not. He's not hooking it up at the start, and Max is just there ready to pounce. He's got that bit more aggression. He's able to muscle his way into the lead, and I think it's something that Max knows that he can continue to do, because Lewis is quite safe. He not safe. He didn't want to get into an accident. He realized that, yeah, I can play the long game here, and hopefully with strategy, with my racecraft, I could probably nick you later on in the race. It's something that I think will be interesting to see as the season pans out, because it might just now be in Verstappen's head that, yeah, actually, off the line, I could actually have Lewis. And I remember even in the Discord as we were discussing it, we thought that as soon as Max got into first, the first couple of laps, we were like, yeah, this race is probably going to be over. And now that, you see Max 1, Lewis 2, that's probably the way it's going to end up. But strategy played a big part in today's race, and it was Max Verstappen and his team who blinked first, and they pitted him on the softs on lap 24. It was a longer than usual stop. Red Bull like to praise themselves on having a quick pit stop. was 4.2 seconds. And at that point, Lewis was really on his neck. Kunle, I'm going to come to you for this. How did you see that sequence of pit stop from Red Bull following that Mercedes' decision not to pit Lewis? That first sequence of pit stops, how did you see that?
So before the pit stop, it was basically Lewis applying pressure. And I saw something like post-race, like Red Bull didn't call that pit. Max called it. It was a late decision, so he buckled. My man buckled, whether you like it or not. He saw Lewis coming and is like, okay, I can't hold this man off no more on these tires. I need to pit. And he did pit. And they were not ready for him. And it took, 4 good seconds. Averagely, the pit takes 2.7 seconds stationary, I think. Something around that time. And you could tell in the Discord, a couple of us were like, okay, Mercedes, you pit now, get track position, and ride off the sunset. But no, Mercedes did not pit because guess what? They have big head. They have coconut head. They don't listen. They don't like things the easy way. They want to stress certain man. They just want to stress man. But I don't know why they did not pit.
Yeah, I don't know why. I literally do not know why. The opportunity was there to pit.
Although they won the race, I still think they would have won it easier if they pit.
100%. I 100% agree with you. I just don't get it. It was a longer pit stop. Hamilton
the mechanics were right there. They saw the Red Bull team mess up the stop. If I'm Bono, I'm telling Lewis, in now. We get this pit. We get track position. We because Lewis was flying.
So you mentioned, Kunle, that there was a radio message, and I remember it on the radio. It was like Lewis asked Bono, "Do I pit?" No. Are we staying out? Lewis said, "Are we staying out?" And Bono was like, "A firm," which I'm guessing means we're staying out.
Yeah, but I'm gonna come. I think before that, Lewis said my tires were good.
Exactly.
He said his tires were good, but at that point, the good tires were not good. They were not better than fresh tires.
Kwame, I'm going to come to you on this. Is there any reason, would you say, from the Mercedes point of view, as to why they would have kept Lewis out at that moment?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if they had this alternative strategy in their back of their head that they dupied on Red Bull and they dupied on I guess some of the fans as well, because that 2-stop they did last minute was interesting, but I felt like at the time it was no brainer to call in, especially when, like Kunle said, Red Bull made a mistake. They had an easier chance at the time to go for the lead and call Lewis in to get him for fresh tires. Even though, yes, he wasn't complaining per se to Bono, he could have done it there, but I felt like they thought, okay, he's not complaining. Let's stretch the tires to the max as much as they can, and then change it later. But listen, I feel like Mercedes should have done it much more at that point there, which would be much more easier, and they could have had an easier race and easier victory.
Yeah, so obviously between Max and Lewis, how it panned out was that Lewis eventually pitted. I think it was 6 seconds behind.
Wait, how many laps after that did he pit again? It was 7 laps?
I think it was
on 7 laps fresher tires, right?
I think it was 5 or 6 laps. Yeah, they just kept him out on the softs, which in hindsight did work out. But when Lewis did pit and come out, he was 6 seconds behind, and he was chasing him down on medium tires, and he really looked to have the bit between his teeth. Obviously, we were discussing this on the Discord. There's that fine line between tow, between slipstream, between dirty air, and it seemed as though when Lewis was in that dirty air of Max Verstappen, he just couldn't get him on the straight. He couldn't get close enough to him to use the DRS, to use his racecraft to get ahead of him. So the decision was made by Mercedes to keep pushing Lewis a bit longer, and then bring him back in, get him to pit, and then literally go for it for, I think it was 20 or so laps on
because around 20 seconds need to catch up on.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
on a fresher set of mediums, and eventually, you know, that resulted in Hamilton eventually overtaking him around lap 60, I think. Yeah, it was lap 60 that he took him. Mahad, I'm going to come to you on this. I like to consider it the Lewis Hamilton strategy, because I seen him do that in Hungary in 2019. I remember it so well, and he managed to take over Max Verstappen there. He also done it in Canada 2012, where he overtook Alonso and Vettel by doing this, what I like to call this Lewis Hamilton alternate strategy, where you're just literally going hell for leather, hammer time in the final stint, and obviously overtaking a car that's on slightly degraded tires. But is that just the class of Hamilton to come through in that final stint and, you know, just come for Verstappen? I think he was chasing him at a rate of knots, I think between 1 to 2 seconds a lap. How did you see that second stint from Hamilton, Mahad?
What he did was fantastic, because he has so much confidence in his ability to drive when his tires are weared down. He knew that, okay, I can go hell for leather on these to gain the 6 seconds after he had the second pit stop. I think it was on lap 42. He decided, okay, look, I'm going to go hell for leather, gain this time, overtake Max, and I know that I can coast this home on the tires. If you saw those tires at the end of the race, them tires were dusted.
They were shot.
And he was just driving normal, like it was nothing. We're talking about the man last year that was driving on 3 tires and took it on. So he's aware, look, I'm on lap 42. I'm getting home with these tires. It doesn't matter how fast I go initially with these. If they're degraded, if they're all over the gaff, I can hold on to it. Yes, he says, Bono, my tires are gone, blah, 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 blah. He's got full confidence in his own ability to drive a car and to coast it home, no matter what condition it is in. Unless there was some sort of engine failure or anything like that, he was taking that home, regardless of what the tires were like. So even Max in the post-race interview said, once he took the second pit stop, I knew he was going to come get me. And basically, he's going to overtake me. So it was kind of like he kind of conceded the race was over from that point. Once he got overtaken there, because, well, even if he pits, he's not going to catch him, because once Max pitted and put on softs, it was a 20-second gap, and there was 6-7 laps remaining. There was not really anything he could do about it from that point. And this just shows the class of Hamilton, not only to say, oh, I'm the fastest guy on the track, I can also look after my tires once I'm in a position to defend my lead. So, this is what he does, man. This is not like a one occasion. He does this. He's done this multiple times, taking it home with less than good tires. We've seen people, even if they've got a little bit of degradation, they're asking to get pitted because they don't want to embarrass themselves on the track. And Lewis just like, no problem, I'll take it on.
Yeah, no, it's perfectly summed up. I can't agree more. When Lewis came in and pitted for his second set of scrub mediums, he was on a charge then. He was back in third, and he came up to his teammate himself, Valtteri Bottas, who didn't make it easy for him. I want to put my hands up here. I did predict Bottas to win the race because I thought he would have a good weekend. I thought he would have pulled something out this weekend. How wrong was I? And I'm never going to predict Bottas to win a race again, to be honest with you. He really didn't help himself, Bottas. For himself, for the team, for Lewis, in terms of getting into Red Bull's head, he held up Hamilton for a lap, and it meant that for that actual lap, he wasn't able to gain on Verstappen. He actually lost 0.3 on that lap. Who then, pitted Bottas himself. He pitted a couple of laps earlier and later to go on softs. So I don't know whether he was trying to play his own game or the team game. It just really didn't make sense to me what Bottas was trying. But yeah, Richard, I'm going to come to you on this. I mean, what was Bottas doing during that sequence? What was he trying to do? Was he trying to show that Was he just trying to stay relevant for some reason? It just didn't make order. It didn't make sense to me, the way in which Bottas was sort of, you know, trying to deal with Lewis there. But yeah, I'll be keen to get your take on it.
Yeah, because it was around about, I don't know, one of like lap 45 or something. I can't remember which one it was, where basically Bottas was holding up Hamilton, and you can tell even when he let Hamilton pass, it wasn't like a easy overtake per se. It was one of them you could tell where it's like, oh, do I really have to let you pass? One of them sorts of things, that sort of overtake. Because he even said in the post-race interview, said that he could have let Lewis in a lot earlier, but for whatever reason didn't want to. It's probably more just an ego thing. Like he knows he's not the star man. He knows he's the sad man. None of his mechanics rate him. We've seen the pictures when he got pole in Portugal, I think it was. Like nobody even clapped for him. It was almost like a funeral. It was very depressing. Yeah, it was just. I mean, you can tell Bottas is getting tired of having to play the number 2. Like he knows in his head he's the number 2. No matter how much he tries to convince himself that he's not, whether he thinks he's joint number 1 or something, but he just needs to play ball. Like he's not on Lewis's level. He's been given umpteen opportunities to show what he's about, really, in the grand scheme of things. He's not Rosberg. Like Rosberg was able to show, even though he's not as talented as what he was with Hamilton, he was able to show quality. He was able to show I can dance with Lewis a bit, even if I have to play dirty tactics here and there. Bottas has not shown that at all, like at all. So him trying to be slick, trying to hold up Lewis by a couple of attempts. If Lewis wasn't as good as what he is, that might have cost Lewis. If he wasn't as good as what he is, that might actually cost Lewis them couple of attempts. But because he's, the perfect all-round driver and whatnot, and he's able to come across those obstacles and whatever, that's how he's still able to get near Max and win the race. So he's just become more and more of a liability, and it's not helping his case of being kept on for next season.
I mean, this guy's getting treated like a dish of Nando's Peri rice. He's just like a side dish completely. Like he's not the main man. He's not helping himself at all. And we even saw that at the start. Like Leclerc managed to get ahead of him, and in that first stint, he was struggling to get past Leclerc. He had to rely on strategy and the team game in order to get ahead. And I think even in holding up Hamilton, he didn't help himself, because I personally feel if he didn't, dilly-dally, dither with Hamilton and actually put in some quick laps when he came in and pitted for his softs, there was an opportunity, there was a window there for him to have, maybe come second and make it difficult for Verstappen when Verstappen had to pit after Hamilton had overtaken him around lap 60. Hope that makes sense. But just wrapping up on Bottas, Mahad. Tell me, I can see your face. You're not looking too happy.
I've had enough of this Fugazi Rosberg, man. You ain't that guy, man. Who you think you are trying to hold up Lewis, man? You know you weren't winning this race. This is after at the end of the post-race interview, he was like, they told me that Lewis was faster and that I need to kind of move out the way for him, but I'm doing my own race. Your own race is trash, brother. You could have stopped Lewis from even winning. So just move out the way. Have some humbleness about yourself, because it's not like you're getting race wins out here. It's not like you're going to be beating Max. Lewis has had that showing that ability in the same car as you. I don't want to talk about Bottas. Every week he's doing something where he's made himself the name of the headline or whatever. I know preseason he was like, oh yeah, I'm different. Da, 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 da. You're not moving different. You're just moving like an idiot. You're getting cooked on opening lap by Leclerc. Oh yeah, you had a little bit of dirty air from Lewis on the corner, but that's not a corner in Spain that you get overtaken. I'm sorry. That is by a Ferrari as well. Ferrari is not faster than Mercedes. Yes, he finished third, and he qualified third. So not really too much of a risk for Mercedes. But you could have thrown the whole thing in the bin. Imagine you was defending your position really, really hard, and something happened between you and Lewis, and then you're both out. What are you doing? Just be a team player. You are the second driver. You're not the first driver. I don't know who's gassing him up. I don't know who's Bottas Hive. A certain man called Kunle might be gassing him, telling him, yo, you're the number one driver. Brother, you're not the number one driver. You
his
just need
DMs.
to have that realization. That's what I'm saying. He's in it, bro. For real. Like, he needs to stop this Shanti Rosberg act. It's pissing me off, honestly, because you need to just be humble and be like, oh, I'm gonna work on race strategy. You got 1 year left on your deal, bro. You could be gone next season. You might not even have a team. So you need to play ball. Another person that was holding up Lewis as well. Let's not forget Mazepin just ignoring blue flags.
Yeah.
Just out here.
ignore
This
that
man
right
is
there.
making enemies of everybody. He made
Everybody.
enemies of Stroll.
He's just on a Barbs thing. He's just on a straight Barbs thing. He doesn't care. Like, did you even see the video? I think I posted in the group that Stroll, he held him up in qualifying.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, sure.
And just with a big middle finger. Yeah. He's just going to piss off the whole grid come Spa.
He
Like
pissed,
the whole.
he pissed off Toto.
Did he? Oh yeah,
Toto
he just
put in a
Toto.
comment.
Yeah, there was a radio message.
Yeah. Toto moving
FIA.
Idiot.
Yeah, Toto moving like Mr. Horner.
Hey, listen, Toto,
only Mazepin can bring Toto to move like Mr. Horner. Only Mazepin can do that. No one else. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Toto has a word with Bottas about that behavior today. Definitely. You can't be doing that. I'm sorry.
It was just. Honestly, Mahad, I can't agree with you more. It was just stupid. It was just stupid and completely senseless. It just did not make sense to me. But enough of Bottas. Hopefully, he won't steal the headlines for the next race. But what we did see today was also a great midfield battle. Steady Eddie Leclerc brought it home in fourth. He started fourth. He brought it home in fourth. He done well at the start. Perez started ninth. He ended up in sixth. As well as Danny Rick Kunle. He managed to come through. And he took sixth, didn't he? Did he take sixth? Oh yeah, Perez fourth, Sergio fifth, Leclerc sixth. And there was a decent enough midfield scrap that we saw. I remember towards the end there were drivers. There was Sainz, Norris, Ocon, all dicing, trying to fight for P8, P9, P10, which Gasly eventually took. But yeah, Kwame, I'm going to come to you first, and then to Kunle. How did you see that midfield battle today? It usually doesn't throw up a lot of entertainment, Spain, but it seemed fairly interesting, that midfield battle.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I usually always find the midfield battle one of the underrated part of the races, because it's just there's quite a lot of action that happens alongside it. I felt like the end part was very interesting. The battle for P10. Alonso held up a train towards the end, which impacted Verstappen and the Hamilton battle for the lead. You had the fight between him, Russell, Stroll, and Gasly. In the end, got the P10, which is the vital point for AlphaTauri. Even though they didn't have the best race, they scrambled over a point. Like you said, it was good to see Ricciardo finally get ahead of Lando as well. He's been waiting for that performance. It was again good to see Leclerc doing best as the rest of P4, which was very impressive, especially when you've had Mercedes and Red Bull just find out being very good because they have. Good to see for even fighting Bottas for P3 in certain points of the race. So yeah, I mean, like you guys said, Barcelona usually is a boring race. Usually there's not much drama, but it's good to see there's one or two fights were happening there. Chances the race is happening there. That was not too bad.
Yep, and yourself, Kunle, how did you assess that midfield battle today?
I like midfield battles. They're the best battles because it's like it feels like the cars are the same. They carry the same speed, and it now goes down. That's when you get to see a lot of places changing. 1 minute you're fifth, next minute you're 11th, and I like seeing those interchanges. And yeah, it was a nice battle. Leclerc was clearly ahead of the rest of the park, and I thought the Alpine was disappointing for the race. I didn't see the race pace that I'd expected because Ocon went from I think fifth to ninth at the end of the race. But Signs, I don't know, man. Signs. Some days, it's hot, and some days it's cold. And today was one of those days where I wasn't really the most impressed by him, considering where Leclerc finished. Not like I'm trying to compare them, but you want to be close to your teammate, as close as possible to your teammate. I mean, we had Sergio Perez in there. I guess once you've been a midfield driver, you never want to leave the midfield. So he was chilling with his boys.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that, man. You can't do that.
I said what I said. I said what I said.
Red Bull in midfield, yeah. Say no.
I mean, it could be a Red Bull. It could be an Alpha Tuari in a Red Bull livery. We don't know what's going on in that car. We don't. Personally, I like Sergio Perez, but burn that team that he drives for. I really don't care. Whatever happens to them, they can rest in peace.
He did well. He did well considering how bad his qualifying was. I have to say that.
He has arguably number 1 or number 2 fastest car on the grid. He shouldn't. If we give Bottas that energy, I know Perez is new to the team. I know. Don't start Mahad. Don't start.
Because
don't unmute me.
The man went from 8th to 5th, and you're doing a Mazin to defend Bottas.
8th to 5th.
You're throwing Sergio Perez. You're trying to sacrifice Sergio Perez to save your Bottas agenda.
No. Look. It's like I said. It's tough love. It's the same tough love that I had for Danny Rick. I'm gonna extend it to Sergio Perez.
Where's the tough love for Valtteri?
No. I didn't want to speak because I was fuming. He let me down today. He let me down today.
He let me down as well.
Let me down today.
Yeah, you two are the CEOs of the fan club of Bottas.
Just for this weekend. I genuinely thought we'll do something this weekend.
He let me down today. I expected better. But I mean, you see, today is one of the first few times me and you are gonna agree on Bottas. It'd probably be the only time we'll agree on your take on Bottas. But yeah, he was absolutely shambolic. He might as well have been in that midfield battle because I don't know what he was doing today. But yeah, forget about that, man. We shall not speak on him anymore today. He don't deserve airtime. But yeah, the midfield was nice. I mean, a setting 2-time former champion went from I think 10th to 17th or something like that.
I don't know what happened because he was 10th. It was like last couple of laps he was shooting 10th.
His tires went. He lost tires. I mean, that's what happens when you're in the midfield. Gasly, I feel like Gasly frauded a point today because it was shocking all weekend as well. But it was
his
nice.
start was bad. His start was bad.
Yeah,
to get that point.
It was a good. I mean, it would have been nice to see Stroll mix it up there, but I guess the green Mercedes is not Mercedes in, it's just. Yeah, that's.
I like that term, Mercedes in.
It's not Mercedes, so it's just.
It's not Benzin, no?
No, it's not Benzin, no. I think Stroll's overtake on Alonso was sick, though.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Still out. Oh, he's still outperforming Vettel. He's still outperforming.
He is outperforming. He is outperforming Seb. And what else was in that midfield? Lando. Yeah, he's had a couple good races. Today was the off day. Maybe the McLaren didn't have that raw pace like they've had in previous races, or again, these kids, you gas them a bit too much and they get too big for the boots. But it was a good midfield battle considering it was Spain. I enjoyed watching it. It was nice.
Yeah, very, very good race. And yeah, hopefully we'll see a bit more of the midfield battles as the season progresses. Go for it.
Speaking of the Discord, whoever that, let me go find that person's name. I need to find that account name.
It's a burner. It's a burner account.
It's a burner account.
Leave him.
Yeah, whoever you are, you know who you are.
Listeners, viewers, if you want hot takes, go to that Discord, boy.
You got to jump in the Discord if you want.
That Discord was ridiculous today.
I'm
The
seeing
things that
what
was-
was it? I'm seeing Mick Schumacher is better than Bottas in that chat.
The things
I
that
I saw Mick Hive. Yeah, I'm still scratching my head. I don't know where this has come from. But yeah,
You guys, if you're
crazy.
listening now, stay calm, please.
like yeah. Shout out to the man that was in the Discord today. Certain people we got a bit aggressive on people today. I'll hold my hands up. I got a bit aggressive on people because like I was on edge. Mercedes had me on edge. So yeah.
It's fine.
The life of
Yeah.
a Bottas fan, isn't it?
It wasn't about Bottas today, it was about Lewis.
It's the life of no. You're on edge.
Stop being nasty. Stop being nasty, man.
By the way, there's another 3-letter acronym that gets Kunle a bit pissed off, and that is AWS. You don't trust that thing one bit. I was telling Kunle that the striking distance, the overtake difficulty, Hamilton's gonna do him in 3-4 lap. You're like, nah, don't tell me about that AWS crap. I don't trust it.
AWS said it was going to be the last lap. No,
They said 10 laps. They said 10 laps.
It took less.
No, he took him in 10 laps.
Was it 10?
Yeah, AWS was correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I don't.
1-0 to AWS.
1-0 to
It's not 1-0, bro. AWS. We up on AWS. To be fair, we up on them. They finally got a win today. But yeah.
But yeah, guys. Yeah, I mean, as Kunle and Mahad touched on, if you haven't, make sure you get involved in the Discord. It's a lot of laughs, especially on race day, and even throughout the week, where we're always running insights, agendas, great analysis. So yeah, if you haven't signed up already, please make sure you do. And if you have any issues getting into the Pitstop channel, DM one of us. We'll make sure your account is set up with the correct permissions. Anyway, guys, let's move swiftly on to what is the very first Mazespin Award. Yeah, I mean, Nikita Mazepin himself, he's not covering himself in glory since day dot. So we thought, you know what, we're just going to completely change it. Scrap the Alex Albon Award. This is now the Nikita Mazepin Award. So we had 4 nominations after the race. It was Yuki Tsunoda, who we touched on already. There was Fernando Alonso. There was the Alfa Romeo pit crew and Sergio Perez. It was a tight one. It was between Tsunoda and the Alfa Romeo pit crew, but it was the Alfa Romeo pit crew who got the large proportion of the vote with 40%. Mahad, I'm going to come to you on this. Yeah, they had a stinker, didn't they?
I don't know what was going on. It sounded like they had everything mixed up. I think they were brought out Raikkonen's tyres for Giovinazzi, and then it was just chaos from that point. I don't know what they're doing over there in terms of organisation. One of the tyres, I think some of the tyres weren't even inflated as well.
One of them was popped.
It wasn't even inflated.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It was a good spot from the race. The thingy go.
Yeah, it is a good spot. It is a good
the
spot.
guy, yeah. Because if you let him out like that, it would have been even more embarrassing then. Yeah, but 100%. It still should show.
He should have felt it once he came out of the blanket. He
Just
didn't need
give it a
to.
touch test, didn't it?
But why is it not
really
inflated?
should even be deflated in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
I don't know what.
Like the amounts of tires their man must have changed, for that to happen. Got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like that's not normal. Like I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like I don't know if that's happened. I don't know. Anik, you know better than me.
That.
You've seen every race.
I've never seen that.
So you'll know it.
I've never seen that.
Seen every race
I've never seen a deflated tire.
You're trying to say Anik's been around for a bit, yeah?
No, I'm just saying he's got,
He saw Prost
F1
and Senna, man.
archives.
What are you talking about?
I just
He saw Jim Clark and them, Masham Weir, Graham Hill.
He saw Enzo Ferrari versus Fangio, yeah?
No, guys,
Like a white races,
I've never seen that. To be honest, I don't know how you can bring out a deflated tire. But yeah, look, let's not dwell too much on them. Alpha had a stinker today. But yeah, and obviously the Driver of the Day award, because we are not too happy with however F1 are doing these votes. I mean, we saw that who got the official F1 Driver of the Day? Was it Max Verstappen?
I think it was
Lewis.
It was Lewis. Oh, okay. So it was
by
Lewis.
like 3%. Yeah.
It was Lewis. But I'm sure that when we're watching it in race, it came up with Max Verstappen that had the large proportion of it. Or maybe that was a live vote or something. But we've decided to do. Yeah, I think we've decided to do our own. It was Hamilton, Leclerc, Ricciardo, and Ocon. it was overwhelmingly Lewis Hamilton with 74%. Kwame, tell us why, in your eyes, he was driver of the day today.
I mean, listen, he first of all, it's 100 pole, so he started from pole. He had to come back from getting taken by Max on the first lap in a Barcelona track that's very, very difficult to overtake. He and his team had to, do a strategy which was, very smart. That to outthink, Red Bull and think, they're doing a one-stop strategy. We can't overtake them in the circuit, so we have to do 2 stops. And to overtake a 2-stop strategy, you have to be very, very fast. You just have to just speed to the way you can, and to catch up with the way he did 20 seconds. That's a lot. And the fact he caught up with Max and just overtook him and just rid the race out, it just shows what he can do. It just shows dominance in that part. Really.
Yep, perfectly said. And last but not least, Richard. Sum up that race for us from a Lewis Hamilton standpoint. Tell us why he was driver of the day.
I mean, time and time again, he just proves why he's the greatest ever to touch a wheel and pedals. Really, I mean, you think you've seen it all, and then he just he just goes to prove everyone wrong yet again. People who doubt him. I mean, when you think about it, because with Red Bull, with their strategy, because I think they want to just do 1 stop, but obviously with Verstappen coming in on his own accord, I want to say roughly that they wanted to put him on mediums. I say around about the same time that Lewis came in, and then just go mediums all the way. Because as you see, they said they had a 20-second gap over Lewis, and they thought they was going to be able to get away with it. But I think it's something to do with them mediums. Like it's not as it doesn't like medium as much on the Red Bulls as much as what it does on the Mercedes as well. I think that's why he was, Max wasn't able to keep the lead as well as the life getting taken out of them. And that's why Lewis was just able to, gain time on him constantly. Like he was gaining 7 tenths or 9 tenths a lap each and every time on him. And then, of course, lap 60 just, passes him easily. So he's just said time and time again, he just proves why he's the GOAT. He's absolutely incredible. If that was any other driver now, Red Bull, depending on how short their tires were, might have got away with that strategy today. But when you're dealing with someone who's, superhuman like Lewis, he's always going to give you a hard time, no matter what. He's always going to give you a hard time. So, that's why he's driver of the day for us. Yeah,
the guy is honestly superhuman. I'm running out of superlatives for Lewis Hamilton. We are witnessing history, and to be honest with you, as F1 fans, we are extremely lucky and privileged to know that we are witnessing a living legend plying his trade at the very top of his game, in what is a competitive sport that you're still risking your life every day. 200 mile an hour around the circuit. It's just fantastic. And honestly, I personally run out of superlatives for this guy. He is genuinely the GOAT. He is Sir Lewis Hamilton, and today he proved that was the case. Guys, from what seemed like was a very, very boring, dire race, we managed to discuss it for 50 minutes plus. It was a great race. There was a lot to discuss. I've had a pleasure discussing it with you guys today. The Discord, as ever, was on fire. We'll be back next week with a podcast for you to discuss some key events that's coming up in Formula One this year. So be sure to check us out on all the socials, as well as all the audio platforms. So yeah, guys, until then, peace.
Peace.
Peace.